What's up, guys? This is CJ, aka the Lone Wolf, coming to you here from the Wolf's Cave. It has been over a month since I've done something like this. Man, a lot has happened during December, between work, between life, um, a lot of football between the NFL and the bowl games and the CFP, and then construction going on here at my apartment. So there wasn't really much I could do to get on here with a lot happening, and I don't want you guys hearing the banging noise and everything else. I could have thought about doing this during the evening, but I have some stuff going on as well too that I'm kind of like trying to get myself situated with. Yeah, a lot is happening, a lot is changing, and I'm just trying to prepare myself properly for it. But we are in the end of the college football season. We are in the end of the CFP season for the second year in the 12-team era, and it actually was a banger. Now, there has been some criticisms on the first, well, with the first two games in the first round, that had to be questionable. When we talk about the group of five and stuff, I'll talk about that in the next video. I'm not going to be on here too long. If you're seeing what I look like a piece of crap right now. It's been a long week of work and stuff, so yeah, I'm lucky to even be here. Also happy new year. So we'll tour in 2026. I'm still here, I'm still alive, I'm still kicking. Yeah, but it was a great college football season to say the least. A lot of competition playing, a lot of chaos happening, um, a lot of unexpected results to be honest. And we didn't know what to expect for some teams that ended up in the CFP. We didn't know who was going to make a run, to be honest, except I kind of knew Miami was. But yeah, man, Indiana, a historic season, going 16 and 0 after probably winning only 16, 17 games in the 100 years plus that they have been here. No, I'm just kidding though. That's not true. But, you know, just kind of watching how this whole thing started to where they are now. Kurt Signetti is definitely a Hall of Famer in college football. He's a great coach. He's an awesome coach. I can go into telling a story about him, but again, some other time probably. But the fact that Fernando Mendoza, the guy that I watched play at Cal Berkeley last season, just amazed at how good this guy is for playing for that team. I figure he'll have an NFL future. Did not know what to expect if he would have stayed with Cal, if they were going to be any better than what they were at this point. Um, but yeah, him going to Indiana, playing alongside Kurt Signetti, who's going to be one of the greatest coaches we've ever watched in this era of college football. I mean, damn man, what a way to finish off his career the way it did. I'm so happy for this kid. Like, and just listening to his personality and everything, I'm like, okay, yeah, this is the guy. This is a kid, man. This is a football nerd. Just having a good time, just playing ball, you know, just chilling with his guys, and just being a good kid, man. Um, but yeah, just everything, and then Miami as well too. Discount them, man. I didn't know what their season was going to look like. Carson Beck coming off his I think elbow injury, arm injury, or something like that, and then just kind of finding out how good Miami was going to be. We knew their defense was going to start improving this season with who they got back and just the young guys, man. Um, who I'm trying to think, what Fitzgerald, Fitzpatrick, and a defensive back, a freshman, just a freshman coming in, just making an impact. Fitzgerald, thank you, Bryce Fitzgerald, and then Malachi Tony, dude, a young, fresh superstar, man, just out of nowhere, just touching the ball, making plays every time. Doesn't matter what he's doing, running the ball, throwing the ball, catching the ball, returning kicks as well too. This kid's amazing. So, like, yeah, this is going to be great. This is going to be a great future for him, man. I would love to see him play for the 49ers. We would love something like that. Kyle Shanahan likes to run his multiple guys, especially if it's to the ground, man. I'm not going to get into that conversation, but yeah. Let's get into the national championship. I might as well get that one out of the way since it's the most recent one. It was actually good. I talked with some people prior to the national championship, and a lot were kind of fearing that Indiana was going to beat the crap out of Miami. You know, we saw the first two games, they came in the only number one seed, conference champion, off a bye week to actually win and go on a run and just clean house. Up to this point, you know, we didn't know what the result was going to be, and we all thought it was going to be a blow up by 30, 40, or 50 for all we know. But then everybody picking Indiana over Miami, and oddly enough, I kind of figured it was going to go the other way. Miami was going to make it competitive, a close game. But what was interesting was on game day, three out of the four people picked Miami, and Pat McAfee, of course, was going to pick Indiana since it's his, well, pretty much his home state now. Um, but yeah, we were all fearing it was going to be a blowout, but I think it's just like the fan base and everybody that's picking Indiana. I kind of figured it was going to be a much closer game than expected. I thought it would be by 10 at the most. I thought Indiana was probably just going to get away with it and just win after that one, which eventually they did. But, you know, Miami made it a game, and I mean, starting things out as we all were fearing 10-0, 10-0 to start things out. By halftime, Miami has not scored a point. They have tried moving the ball, but they just could not execute on their drives to finish things off. What kind of took things away from them was the penalties. Um, and then, well, pretty much it was the penalties. I think the penalties was pretty much what just did him in. And this was something I was kind of like looking out for. But as the game gone on, when it got to the second half, you know, Miami finally opened things up. They scored. They got competitive. They made it a game again, and then we got an interesting finish to it, which you know we all wanted. We've all wanted a great conclusion to the college football playoff season, just like last year with Notre Dame and Ohio State. Um, but I don't know. I was looking at this game, and I felt like Miami had a chance if they just did not get penalized. And here's my thing with it. I know I'm kind of going back and forth here, but this was something I listed down for Miami for them to have a chance to win the game. It comes down to just penalties. How many penalties were they gonna get in this game? And then if they were gonna force turnovers, and then if there was gonna be turnovers given up, because those are keys to if Miami was gonna win the game or not, right? And then time of possession throughout the playoffs, they had more control and time of possessions against their opponents throughout the CFP. You know, they're a physical team, both sides of the ball, play good defense, they control the game, they have a good run game. It all comes down to if their quarterback can, you know, take care of the ball, which he did in most games that he has played throughout the season, except the two games they lost. They lost to, which was Louisville and SMU. Carson Beck just did not take care of the ball properly. And, you know, throughout the game, he didn't turn over the ball. He didn't throw an interception. So I felt like Miami was still in this game, but it's going to come down to Carson Beck if he can actually come through or not. But yeah, time possession was a big deal. But trying to see what else. And then of course first downs. I felt like, and here's my thing. I felt like first downs, time of possession, and penalties was going to be three keys that Miami has to be on the lookout for. This was something I kept out. Um, and I know this does not relate to what is in here because this is more official, but I kept a record as much as I possibly can on what was going on with the game. But what led to Miami's loss, and this is something that I kind of wish something would have been different, were the penalties. They had seven penalties, and two of them, from what I've heard, were on third down plays, which they actually had a chance of stopping Indiana on. And those two third down penalties cost them. That eventually led to, I think, one of the scores that Indiana had, if not two. But yeah, they were one of the I'm trying to think how many teams in the college football playoff that had penalty issues, but they're one of the two or three teams in the college football playoff that had the most penalties. And this was a team that was kind of undisciplined. Yes, they're very physical, they're very aggressive, but they can be undisciplined at times when it comes to late hits towards the quarterback's helmet, which some of it wasn't called, especially one where Fernando Mendoza had that bloody lip. I'm a little surprised they didn't call that. I didn't see it until I saw the replay. I'm like, how do you not call it? And then there were other penalties they could have had, like the corners were getting beat by the receivers, especially against Elijah Surratt. There was some holdings, there was some hands on the jerseys, and I'm like, where are those calls? It makes no sense. Not saying Indiana had some calls that weren't against them as well too, but I'm like, Miami could have easily had double-digit penalties. 7 penalties total in that game. That's underestimating it. There could have been more out there. They didn't force their turnover, but they did give up two. One of them was a punt block, and oh man, that was awesome. That was crazy awesome. And this was something odd about Indiana scoring. Fernando didn't score a touchdown, but his tight end slash fullback Riley Nowakowski was the one who ended up with the score. And then Fernando got the other touchdown score, which was awesome on the 4th and 5, where you didn't know what the play was going to be, 4th and 5, but they were like, they just had to get this one. This was big. This was pretty much everything they needed to win a national championship, right? 4th and 5, you would think probably a pass play, right? Nope. Nana Mendoza had the ball and just ended up taking off. I'm like, what? So it looked like it was just a first down, but he was just making some moves. And when he scored reaching through the end zone before he took that crack in the back, oh my God, I yelled out his last name. I'm like, I was so happy for this kid, man. That was such an amazing play. That's like one of the biggest highlights in a national championship you're going to be seeing for decades, man. Like, dude, that was crazy insane. But sorry, like I said, I'm going back and forth with this, but getting back to this, um, like I said, the turnovers were given up, and the other one was Carson Beck throwing that last interception, which again, 0-3 when Carson Beck has those turnovers. Not saying all of it would cost all the games they've lost, but there's just some games in crucial situations when it matters that he has cost them. And that one was the third one pretty much. He's 0-3 at Miami's 0-3 at this point when it comes to Carson Beck not taking care of the ball properly. And that cost them. Now the Ole Miss game, one of it happened, but that was off a tip pass. The other one, I don't know what Beck was doing. It just ended up it he threw it in the wrong area where it shouldn't have been. There was coverage right over there. When somebody told me about this, it felt like there was another receiver that was open that he could have actually gone to. If he could have gone to that guy, Miami would have had a chance to actually come back and win. But unfortunately, it didn't happen. Beck threw that interception that pretty much ended the game for Miami, unfortunately. But it looked like Miami was in this game no matter how bad things got. I mean, 10-0. It still looked like Miami had a chance to be in this game. But this is where first downs and time of possession came in that hurt them a whole lot. They gave up 20 first downs. They gave up 20 first downs. And this was something I kept tabs on because Indiana is such an efficient offense. When they get the ball moving, they're really hard to stop. When Fernando Mendoza's moving the ball, they're really hard to stop. They're unstoppable. The run game was pretty dang good. It was difficult at times, but I think the run game was just killing Miami. With how good Miami's defense is, their run defense is average. They rely so much on the pass rushers by Akeem Mesidor and Ruben Bain Jr. You would never really think how good the DTs are. Now I forgot his first name, but his last name is Moten, number 99. Big dude, right? He has not been healthy throughout the postseason. He's been hurt. He was hurt in Texas A&M. He was hurt at Ohio State. He was even hurt at Ole Miss. I was surprised he played that national championship. I didn't know how to feel if he was able to play, but he had some time off to recover at times. So I guess he was 70%, 80% healthy enough to play that national championship. But hold on. Sorry, I'm getting all these messages, and it's it's bothering me. I'm getting vibrates every time on my wrist. I'm trying to concentrate on this one, but yeah, I mean, it just looked like Miami's defensive line was doing the job, getting to Fernando Mendoza, just lighting him up. But also, they were getting beat on the run game, whether it's a draw play or a zone run or anything like that. When it looked like the defense had a chance on some plays to stop them, they were giving up first downs. Some of them on third down plays, which Indiana was successful on as well too. What, six third downs? The efficiency doesn't look that good, but it just seems like when Indiana had a chance, they took it. They got their shots on it. But that and time of possession, obviously Miami was not winning the time of possession, and especially in the first half of this game. They were getting I think they were just getting drained out by Indiana. And, again, their offense is so efficient enough. Miami has to play a good, efficient defense just to keep them shut down, and they just couldn't. And Indiana was taking their time. They were just walking over them on each play that they've had and each possession that they've had. But once it got to the second half, Miami finally started taking control of the game. I think they won that third quarter in the time of possession, but it just still wasn't enough for them to actually win this game when the penalties hurt them. When they were allowing first downs multiple times, they were getting beat on run plays. I mean, again, I've talked a lot about. I've started talking a lot more about Miami because I've talked with somebody after that national championship the next day. It looked like Miami could have won this game. It looked like they could have won this game if they could have taken care of the ball a little bit. Not saying the punt block kind of cost them. I don't think that was a big deal. It just looked like there was opportunities for Miami, not only for their defense to get off the field, but actually doing more. I mean, looking at these stats, it just looked like Miami was just a better team, but Indiana was playing better, efficient football. Not only that, Miami just wasn't disciplined. They had these penalties going against them, and there could have been more that could have gone against them, and there could have been a targeting play that where that player hit Fernando Mendoza in the face that led to the bloody lip. I mean, like I said, there could have been a lot of opportunities Miami had, but unfortunately it wasn't. But at the end of the day, we got a great game. It worked out. Miami, to me, it felt like they were one of the best teams in the nation. But again, those two losses they had in the middle of the season, which you do not want to have, especially in November, that was cost by Carson Beck, and it nearly cost them a playoff opportunity too, especially when it got to that Notre Dame Miami debate. I can go into this. I can go into this story about it, but again, some other time. But Miami was the last at-large team to get into the postseason, going to run like they did, overcoming a hurricane-like condition against Texas A&M and winning the kicking bat. Well, an ugly ass kicking battle, which was a tie, honestly. But Miami had more opportunities to do it too. Um, but they were able to escape Texas A&M in hurricane-like conditions, outplay Ohio State as far as physicality goes, and just with how close this game is, and scaring Julian Sand too, and then just surviving Ole Miss in what was a classic college football game, and Carson Beck just walking off in that revenge matchup against Ole Miss, which some people, if you do not remember, he was a Georgia QB when they lost that game to him. But what a great way to kind of like just get back at them after what happened. But Beck, man, when they needed it, he went for it, man. He got it. And that was his redeeming factor. And I was happy for him for that one because I didn't know what to make of it. It could have been Ole Miss taking that game. But yeah, just Miami going on that run and then getting all the way to the national championship and having a chance to come back and try to beat an undefeated Indiana that felt like at this point was the best team in college football. So at this point, if you're hearing me right now that you do not know, I think this was the best two teams in college football this season. You can say, well, Miami had two losses during the season. They were the last team to get into the college football playoff. Well, you know what? The CFP 12 team playoff is such a mystery. Okay, you don't know what you're going to get when you get teams getting into the postseason. I mean, again, the home teams that just came off a bye is 1-7 in 2 seasons. Indiana was the only team to get out of this, so apparently they were the best team in college football to start out with. Miami, last team at a last at large football team to get into the postseason and do what they did, beat two SEC teams, ha ha ha, and beating a former national champion in Ohio State to nearly beat Indiana. Could have beaten two SEC teams and two Big Ten teams and changed the narrative. Known for the fact, and I'm saying this, and I'm right, and I'm dying, I'm living and dying by this. They were not an ACC representative. They were an ACC at large team, an ACC at large team. While Duke, ACC national champion, I mean, ACC title champion, not national champion. They could have been in the playoff for all we know, but there had to be so much more scenarios to play in. I thought they could have been the ACC representative, but at this point, it's not. So I'm not saying they're the representative of the ACC. They're an ACC team that just got into the playoffs as an at-large team, but they were the last ones to get in and go on a run. So at this point, now you got road teams that finally have a chance to actually do something. Like there is optimism for it. But I'm not going to go into too much of this. Like I said, I'll explain a lot more in detail for my next podcasting. But just wanted to come up on here and just kind of go back through the reviews of everything that happened with the championship. Honestly, it was fun to watch. I'm glad it ended the way it did. We got a game out of that one. Indiana finally had a game that they had to play in since I don't know. I think Iowa. Let me double check real quick. It's been a while. No, since Penn State. Damn. Okay. It's been a while. Well, no, Ohio State as well too. Ohio State. Okay. So we'll go up to that. It's been a while since Ohio State, which to me it has been a while because, they went on a bye. So they were out about 26 days before they played their first playoff game. But yeah, I'm just happy. I'm happy that the narrative is changing. It's not about the SEC anymore, but now it's going to be talked about the Big Ten because you have Michigan and Ohio State and Indiana of all teams winning a national championship. So how do we see this next season? I don't know. There might be another Big Ten team that might win a national championship, but I'm not going to tell you who until probably next time or maybe some other time. But yeah, that's pretty much it for me on this one. Um, But this has been a fun season. I had a good time watching football. I had a good time learning a lot more about it, seeing that the NIL and the transfer portal just changing the way that football is being played. To me, it's becoming like a semi-pro NFL-ish type league now because now we're seeing a bit more balance of competition. Like heck, even Virginia had a chance of making the CFP, which would have been a bonanza deal. Now, would they have gone on a run? We don't know. And then two group of five teams getting into the college football playoffs, and you can make whatever BS crap you want about them, but they earn their way in, even if it's by the faltering of the ACC not getting in. And people complained about it, like, well, we need the best 12 teams, we need the best 12 teams. Well, here's my opinion on it. Win your goddamn football game and not lose to whatever bullshit situation you got into, which, i.e., could have been Miami, but they got in. And I know Notre Dame fans are still complaining about this. They should have gotten in. I totally agree because I don't think Alabama should have been in. And Alabama can make whatever case they want. And don't worry, I'm going to get to Alabama SEC fans. I listened to enough of the Paul Feinbaum show um, pre Alabama, Oklahoma, post Alabama, Indiana football to know you guys are goddamn hypocrites and you can't even accept the fact that you guys lost. I've only heard two Alabama fans out of everybody saying, we just didn't deserve to get in and we lost. Indiana was just a better team. I congratulate them. I only heard that from two or three Alabama fans, SEC fans pretty much, while everyone else was in denial. You know what? We're in this new era of football. you might as well just get right on the horse and start doing better and different. So I'm just telling you right now, Big Ten's playing better football than you guys, so you better get on the horse. And I don't give a shit. I'm an Oklahoma fan, known for the fact they're in the SEC. We accepted the fact we just weren't there, but we worked our asses off to get into the postseason. 2 losses, second strongest, um, second strongest college football schedule in the nation, and they got into the postseason. Who else can say that? Who else can say that? So yeah. But yeah. Anyway, no. Like I said, this was gonna be a short video. Eventually it's gonna get posted on here. So once you see this, yeah. Hello, I'm back after about a month or so. But yeah, the next time I'm on, hopefully it's next week. It should be a mellow out week since we won't have any college football or NFL. But there will be a Senior Bowl that next week. I'm not going to talk too much about it. If it comes out of my mouth, it's because maybe I saw something interesting of it. But yeah, glad to be back on here after a while. Hope you all have a great day. And then for those that are out in the South and the East and the Midwest that's dealing with this whole winter storm situation, ice storm situation and stuff, please be safe out. Be smart. Hopefully you have all your technologies and distractions charged. Hopefully you have some board games, and hopefully you have enough food and supplies and flashlights to keep you guys through this, because I'm hearing it's going to be a bit of a nightmare. I hope it's not, and I'm just going to pray that all you guys do make it out here and survive as well too. And last note, exploding trees? You didn't think that was a thing. Exploding trees is a thing. Holy crap. All right, guys. But this is the Lone Wolf from the Wolf's Cave signing off. Peace out, everybody.